Daith da, Eubinakan. Welcome to podcast number 73. As you may be able to hear, I have still got a bit of a croaky voice. It kind of comes and goes. It's a weird thing, really. So bear with me. I think it will be a bit of a shorter podcast tonight. We're going old school, back like it was when I first started. Tis just, pretty much just going to be me tonight. I got a little bit of mother squeezed in there. But I did have a podcast interview lined up to do earlier this week. And the person I was going to interview, our diaries clashed on 2 occasions. So I'll be contacting them again next week or two. But next week, I'm doing an interview with a lady from Port Isaac. And then the week after, speaking to somebody who spent a lot of their life up in Davidstow. So we're getting around a little bit. But tonight, I'm afraid, you've just stuck with me. Well, I say tonight, you might not be listening to this in the night, but I'm recording it in the night. But, I can't remember when I spoke to you last. We did have a service in our chapel. Saturday, we was out Port Isaac, and I did put a photo on our RJ Bray Facebook page. You may well have seen it. The Port Isaac seagulls left a little present for us right down the side of theirs. And we came out of the church and saw it afterwards. The family thought it was quite comical. They said Mother would have loved that. But 'tis a beautiful little church, St. Peter's Church in Port Isaac. And you in there, it's like Sally and Martin was there, and Sally said to me afterwards, 'tis lovely. You sat in there and you hear the seagulls outside. Well, obviously, we didn't know what they was doing at the time, but, they covered the side of our house, but, there we are. So that was Saturday morning, and then Saturday afternoon, I didn't have much time for dinner, because, I had about 15 minutes just to grab a little bit, and then I headed over to Nanstallon. Now, for those of you that ain't round here, that don't know where Nanstallon is or anything, 'tis a beautiful little village, about 2 miles outside of Bodmin. And we was approached a little while ago by the Nanstallon Community Trust, and they asked if we'd like to give a little donation, because what they was trying to do was to buy the old Nanstallon Methodist Church and turn it into a village hall. And, like so many places now, the Methodist churches, they are closing, being sold off. So it was a lovely opportunity for the people of Nanstallon to actually buy this and turn it into a hall. So we said, yes, we'd love to help. But our connection with Nanstallon goes back a long time, really. When Father was, I suppose, in his late teens, his father, my grampy Sid, and Father's stepmother, Marion, they moved into Nanstallon, and Father lived with them there for a while. Then he went off to his national service and everything. But Nan and Grampy, they lived in Nanstallon for about 30 years. Down the bottom of the hill, Roseville, 'twas called. I did it. 'Twas handsome. I mean, Grampy's lawns, 'twas like carpet. 'Twas like if you was going to play lawn bowls on it. He was so particular. His garden, everything was fantastic. Beautiful cottage, river running down the side. Mrs. Cosborne was in behind, and then the other side was John and Sheila Trethui, and they're still there today. And it was lovely to see them on Saturday, because they was fantastic neighbours for Nan and Grampy. Really was. They thought the world of John and Sheila, so it was lovely to see they. Of course, like all villages, everything changes. I would say there's twice the number of houses there now in Nanstallon as to what there was years ago, but the village shop are gone. So there's no village shop there left in the village. You've still got the school. And some of you might have seen it if you've been down here on holiday, because the old railway line, which is now the Camel Trail, it comes up and it just, goes across the road only about half a mile, if that, away from Nanstallon, close to Boscarn and that. So you might well have seen the name before and not known where it was. But, just to think that it had its own railway line just going so close, years ago, how times have changed. But, we had some lovely memories down Nanstallon. We go down there quite often. I can remember always Sunday afternoons. We go down there early afternoon, be there for tea. And back then I was really mad into me cricket. I used to play cricket a bit for the school. And you'd have like the 40 over matches on. And we'd always go home after tea. So I'd say to mother and father, look, hang on. And then you could tell if you thought the game was going to be finishing in 2 or 3 overs, I'd persuade them to hang on. Or if you thought, hang on, we got another 10 overs yet, I'd say, right, can we go now? And then you rush home and then watch the end of the match home on your own telly. BBC Two, that was on, back when there was only 3 channels on your telly. And of course, back then, there wasn't such thing as a video recorder. You didn't have a clue what that was. No DVDs or nothing like that at all. So it was a case of trying to rush home and miss as few overs as you could. And I can remember also when I was young, Father would drop me off there in the morning and I'd spend the day there. And Grampy would take me just walking through the countryside, down by the river. Oh, it was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So sadly, I say the Methodist Church is now closed. We conducted a lot of funerals there over the years. The Church of England Church, St. Stephen's, is just down the road. But 'tis funny looking back, because although Nan and Grampy, they was like, 100 yards away from the chapel, they was very good friends with Percy and Ruby Hugo. They come from Pakitic way. And of course, that's very near Gunwen Chapel. So they'd go back there every Sunday. So quite often, Nan and Gramp would go out Gunwen Chapel as well. And there's a few Brays out there as well, but they ain't related to us. But we know them, but they're a different Bray to we anyway. So back to last Saturday, turned up there just before 2, just in time for Joey Douglas, who've been connected with the Methodist Church there at Nanstallon, nearly all her life. I think from the age of 4, I think they said 4 or 5. And was she now 90 now? So she's had such big connections with the chapel. And I thought it was lovely that they asked her to cut the ribbon. And you could go in, you had tea and cake and everything inside. And then the Levenny male voice choir, they sang a few songs. So 'twas a lovely afternoon, really nice. Met up with a lot of people I hadn't seen for a while, had a good yarn. And yep, that was me Saturday. And then this week, we've mainly been over at Glyn Valley. But this evening is Thursday, I'm recording this. And today we've been over to Bethel. And I know there's lots of Bethels all over the world. I think there's mentioned in the Bible originally, not this Bethel, but there is a Bethel mentioned in the Bible. But the Bethel we've been to today is over St. Austell. So this was for a funeral of one of our family, actually, mother's cousin Jean. And I thought, I'll talk to you a bit about Bethel, because that's where all our family come from on mother's side, the Locketts. And then I thought, what I might do, I might ask mother to talk about it a bit, and then I'll kind of round off afterwards. So I did throw on mother a bit yesterday, chucked her in the deep end. So here's just a little chat with mother, and then I'll be back in a minute. Get on, mother. How be knacking? Terrible. Yeah. Well, you haven't been very good because you went and broke your toe, didn't you?
Yes, I did, David.
Yeah, kicked the blooming door.
It was very painful.
Yeah. I must actually, before we go on, I must thank Heather and the nurses in at Bodmin Hospital, because they was fantastic, weren't they?
Yeah, they were.
They looked after you, didn't they?
Yeah. I need them here with me now, David.
Well, yeah, very true. But I thought today we'll talk about Bethel, going back to Bethel, because obviously we've had dear Jean's funeral, which is a cousin of yours, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think from all your cousins, there's just you and Sandra left. Is that right?
Is Morley gone?
Yeah, Morley's gone. So it's just you and Sandra left now, isn't it?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Perhaps that's right, David. I don't know.
Yes, 'tis. I'm telling you,
I've
'tis.
lost track.
But, so, like our family on your side, on your mother's side, they are all from Bethel out St. Austell way, innit?
Yeah.
And they had did your granddad have a little small one
Yes, up the hill.
close to the chapel?
Yeah, you got there once on the left.
Right.
They used to sell milk and eggs and stuff.
So they had a few cows and that there done?
They must have, I suppose, little small.
Yeah. And your granddad was John Lockett,
Yep,
known as Jack.
yep.
And then your gran,
Edith Mary.
Edith Mary.
She was a wolf, I think.
She was a wolf. That's right. That was her maiden name. And that was spelt with 2 O's.
Yeah.
W-O-O-L-F.
Yep.
But I think they come from down west, didn't they?
They could
Originally?
have.
I think down west. And was
'Cause
they...
we didn't see them a lot because we couldn't travel. We had no transport.
No. And I don't know if they was... Because some of your family come from Isles of Scilly,
Yeah,
didn't
they
they?
did.
So whether it was... I'm sure it is that side of the family.
Yeah.
So obviously, when you was born, your mother and father, they'd already moved away because you was born at Trevibben, wasn't they?
Trevibben, St. Izzy.
Out St. Izzy, that's right. So obviously you can remember bits about Bethel, but like you said, a lot of people didn't have a car back then.
No.
So you didn't go back there that often. But so your gran and granddad, they lived up the hill.
Yep.
So out of all the Locketts, and my gran, your mother Violet, she the oldest one?
Yeah.
And then Sybil?
I said, yeah, could be. And Leonard, I don't know what order that was. And then
And then Melville?
Melville was the youngest.
Yeah, that's right. And when any of they got married, then initially did they live around Bethel or no?
Yeah, Uncle Leonard lived out Lockett Gate, I think. That was,
Come then, yeah, that's
He
right.
did, didn't he?
Yeah,
Auntie Sybil was still at Bethel.
she stayed at Bethel.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Melville, they moved down to Laddock, didn't they?
Yeah. They had a small old one down there.
Yeah, that's right. So can you remember much about Bethel? Because there wouldn't have been many houses built round the chapel back then, was there?
No, I don't remember really. I know my Auntie Sybil lived across the road from there.
Yeah.
Uncle Melville lived just up the road, and Grandad lived up just up higher than that.
Yeah.
And then the other side of the road, Father's brother lived, Uncle Will.
That's Will Rickard.
Yeah, he used to drive the Danish bacon van.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember I was down Egg Depot one day, and they used to come and pick up eggs
Yeah.
for him. And I said to the girls, I'm sure that's my uncle. And he come round for eggs for Danish bacon.
Did it really?
He was lovely. I liked Uncle Will. But we didn't share family very much, see, because we couldn't.
You didn't travel,
No
really,
travel.
did you? No. And was it your granddad, was he a bit of a lay preacher at Bethel Chapel as well?
I don't know. He was someone. They were a bit chapel-ified.
Yeah. And of course, for Jean's service, obviously we've had the burial at Campdown Cemetery, and we got a lot of family buried out there, haven't we?
Yeah, his half-sister and brother Joyce and Sam is out there.
Yeah.
Well, the Locketts, aren't they, I suppose?
Yeah, your granddad out there and
His
gran.
granddad helped to build that church.
That's right, the little chapel that's in the cemetery
Yeah,
there.
well, that was back when Mother was born, late 1897, Mother was born.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He was doing it at that time. And then I think just outside the chapel there's the children's burial grave, and I think that my gran lost twins.
Ah, right.
I think they were buried there, a little plot just outside the church.
Yeah, because we were open to have the service in that chapel,
Yeah.
seeing that my great-granddad helped build it. But, of course, he'd been closed now for a couple of years or so. So that's how we went Bethel Chapel, which was nice, seeing that you all come from Bethel anyway.
Yeah, my family was Bethel people.
Yeah, but I think they are trying to sell that or lease that little chapel there now. I think your gran, her maiden name was a Wolf, and then I think her mother's maiden name was Eddie, if I'm right, and they was Eddies from down west. I think I'm getting it now, because while you was talking, I was scrolling through, and Julia, which would be Sybil's granddaughter, she sent through a lot of stuff a little while ago now, and it's quite interesting because your mother Violet, when she was 14, and her gran Sybil, who was 12, they had their names published in the newspaper for awards they had. It was
Sunday school.
St Austell Sunday Schools Connectional Young People Scripture Examination. How about that?
Yeah.
And that was, 1912. That was done. And then back before that, in 1903, in the Cornish Guardian, your mother, who was 5 years old, received a Sunday school attendance prize.
Oh,
So how about that?
you're wonderful.
So it was you that went off the rails, Mother.
Not really.
No, I'm joking. But so I suppose we'll just go back to Bethel, because you said you remember a shop up the road there?
Yeah, the Crowells, they were called.
The Crowells, yeah. And was it their daughter then? Was it Daisy? Was she friendly with
Joyce?
With Joyce, your sister? Yeah. But I suppose back then, a lot of the land around Bethel Chapel was fields, really, was it?
Yeah, there wasn't a lot there, I don't think.
Where it is all houses now, isn't it?
Yeah, I wouldn't know it.
You wouldn't, would I? And then you said about Jean?
Yeah, Jean and Fred had a property built around Bethel somewhere, nice property.
So they lived there too, yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. Well, I think what I'll do in the future, I'll delve into this a bit more, and then we'll come up and do a more in-depth one, because I did kind of throw in at the deep end here. I turned up with me tripod and my phone at the last minute, but it went right, didn't it?
Yes, I suppose so. Didn't sound like me, David.
No? Well, that's good. Well,
didn't sound as thick as I really am.
Well, no. Oh, that's very good. So you got anything else to say before we go, or no?
I don't know, really. Very interesting.
No? Well, we'll get back again. So if you want to say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. I'll speak to you again soon.
Proper job. That's wonderful. Thank you, Mother. Well, like I say, thank you, Mother. Listening back to that now, we did go off at a tangent, really. That was more about our family tree than it was about Bethel, but there we are. But I can imagine, because St Austell is a hang of a big town, and I can think it's like a lot of towns all over the country, perhaps the world, that you got little hamlets and that gradually they just merge into one. And I got the feeling that Bethel was one of they. I'd say when me great-grandparents was there, maybe before that, you just had the chapel, just a few houses, and then you had farmland and everything. But now, well, we have to park the hearse right there outside the chapel, which is on a roundabout, and 'tis a busy road, I tell you. 'Tis really busy. But apart from the weather, all went well. And then we had the burial at Campdowns, and like Mother said, there's a little chapel there in the cemetery, which my great-grandfather helped build back in the late 1890s. And unfortunately, it was shut, 2 to 3 years ago. It is empty. And I think it's a council-run cemetery. And I think they're just trying to lease it out to somebody now. But 'tis a pity, because we was hoping to have the service there, which would have meant a lot to our family, but these things happen. But so Jean was buried in the old section of Campdown Cemetery, which is where all our family are. And then they got a new extension there now. And if you go through there, the view you're looking out to sea, 'tis a fantastic view. Absolutely brilliant. So there we are. I think for me Cornish word of the week, I'll do the word for rain. Because I swore then. It bloomin' poured down today. We got streaming leaking. So the Cornish word for rain is glaw. Glaw. And I think for me Cornish dialect of the week, 'tis something I am heard very often said, to be honest. And it's when you're talking about a tiny amount of something, and you say 'tis a bug's whisker. A bug's whisker. And obviously a bug, you're talking about a little insect, and a whisker, like you get a cat's whisker. So it's that. So it's a bug's whisker, a tiny amount. So that's me dialect for this week. Right, well, I managed to keep me voice all this time, but I'm going to cut it short now and give it a bit of a rest. And then we'll be back on again next week. So I hope you have a good week. Wish you well. Do Guinness. Curno Bisfican.